Okay, so we all know this place, right? Brightly lit, universally familiar, promising that glorious 24/7 convenience. It's supposed to be a safe, reliable stop no matter the hour. But today, we are unpacking a documented account that completely transforms this safe haven into the setting of an absolute nightmare. Get ready, because this one is incredibly intense.
Seriously, what happens when the world's most family-friendly restaurant becomes a trap for something completely sinister? McDonald's is one of the most famous fast food chains on the planet, known for its bright yellow arches and welcoming vibe. But the source material we're looking at today proves that even in such a heavily standardized, brightly lit environment, completely unnerving and terrifying things can happen. Things that, once you see them, you literally can never unsee.
Let's dive right into how this all started. 3 years prior to this account, our narrator was just 17 years old, and like a lot of teenagers, he was in desperate need of a job to pay off his college fees and kind of just get ahead in life. To secure his spot and impress his boss, he basically threw his personal boundaries right out the window. He agreed to work whatever shift his manager asked for, day or night, for as many hours as they needed. It's that classic setup of a really dedicated, hardworking kid who is completely unaware of what that dedication is actually going to cost him.
So for the first 3 months, everything is totally fine. He's exclusively working day shifts, getting the hang of things, and doing so well that his boss eventually asks him to take on the night shift. The manager promises it's super quiet and peaceful. He agrees. No hesitation. Then comes a Saturday night. He clocks in at midnight for a shift meant to run all the way until 5 a.m. For the first couple of hours, it's totally business as usual. But right at 2 a.m., this quiet routine takes a severe and very dark turn. Before leaving for the night, his manager handed him an incredibly mundane, highly structured to-do list. We're talking refilling the ketchup, the mayonnaise, and the barbecue sauce bottles, mopping the floors, scrubbing the tables. He was so busy powering through this boring list of standard fast food chores that he didn't even notice the time slipping by. And here's the thing. These repetitive duties were basically lulling him into a false sense of security, completely masking the absolute chaos that was waiting just outside the front doors.
By 2 a.m., the entire vibe inside the restaurant had shifted. It was dead silent. Literally 0 customers had come in. At first, he didn't really mind, because it just meant he could finish his cleaning in peace. But just imagine standing in that massive, brightly lit commercial dining room, completely devoid of people. It's one of those weird liminal spaces that's meant for huge crowds, but now, totally empty. The only sound is that eerie hum of the commercial refrigerators cutting right through the silence. That creeping isolation was really starting to set in.
So he's simply standing there, just arranging coffee cups on a table, when he gets hit with that unmistakable, prickling feeling on the back of his neck. You know the one, the feeling that you're being watched. It's a heavy, suffocating feeling. At first, he brushes it off. He tells himself, okay, it's just exhaustion. The paranoia is just his body reacting to staying up so late on a shift he isn't used to. But that feeling, it absolutely refuses to go away.
And then, his eyes glance toward the front window. Out in the darkness, just beyond the glare of the bright interior lights, he sees it. A strange, black shape. It looked exactly like someone was standing right there in the pitch black, staring directly in at him. His breath just catches in his throat as this terrifying realization washes over him. He is definitely not as alone as he thought he was.
Naturally, his brain goes into overdrive trying to rationalize it. He tells himself, it has to be my imagination. I mean, who would just stand outside at this time of night? He tries to convince himself it's sheer tiredness, and he literally scrubs the tables harder, desperately trying to ignore the window. But the dread is creeping in fast. His eyes involuntarily dart back to the glass, and this time, the black shape has moved closer. Still, he stubbornly decides to ignore it, forcing his focus purely onto his work, because he is absolutely terrified of what he might see if he looks again.
But that luxury of ignoring the threat, yeah, that gets violently snatched away. He's trying to work when a noise just shatters the quiet of the empty restaurant. A voice cutting directly through the glass, chanting in this hushed, incredibly intense rhythm. I can see you. I can see you. It's a chilling auditory jump scare that completely destroys any logical reassurance he had left.
He whips his head around, and his absolute worst fears are instantly confirmed. Standing there is no longer just some vague shadow. He describes seeing what he calls a literal demon, a figure with eyes as red as blood, staring right through him, relentlessly and aggressively banging its fists against the window. The physical manifestation of pure terror had arrived, and there was literally only a thin, fragile sheet of fast food restaurant glass standing between him and it. At this point, pure adrenaline takes over. This is survival mode, 100%. He knows he cannot stay in that building for a single second longer. In a total panic, he slams the close sign onto the front door, and he sprints to his car, literally running for his life. In a brilliant split-second decision, he calls his manager. But instead of sounding like a crazy person rambling about monsters, he just claims he's violently sick and has to leave immediately. Still shaking, he slams his foot on the gas and speeds home.
The moment he finally reached the safety of his house, the adrenaline crashed, leaving behind this wave of heavy, lingering trauma. He made an absolute, unbreakable vow right then and there. He would never, ever work a night shift again, even if it meant quitting on the spot and finding a totally new job. That financial motivation, the need to impress the boss, none of it mattered anymore compared to the sheer terror of what he had just survived.
And that brings us to the end of this incredibly tense explainer. It really makes you look at those 24-hour convenience spots we totally take for granted in a new light, doesn't it? The next time you're sitting in a brightly lit, perfectly quiet fast food joint at 2 in the morning, just taking in the silence, you kind of have to ask yourself, who or what might be standing just beyond the reflection of that glass watching you? Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you on the next explainer.